Back in December, the St. Louis Cardinals made a pretty big free agent splash, signing longtime Chicago Cub, now of course a free agent, Willson Contreras to a 5-year, $87.5 million contract to be their new catcher in the first year post the Yadier Molina era. This was a pretty nice move by the Cards, considering Contreras isn't down bad having conversations with himself in porn stars' DMs anymore, at least as far as we know, so that's a plus. But in all seriousness, he is looked at as one of the best catchers in the game. He may not necessarily be the best offensive catcher, and honestly, I don't really know the defensive metrics and stats on Contreras, but I just know that there are better defensive backstops out there. But part of what makes Contreras one of the best is his bat. So along with playing pretty good defense behind the plate, the dude can hit. From 2016 through the 2022 season, his entire tenure with the Cubs, Contreras hit 117 home runs with an OPS around 800 and had an OPS plus that was 15 points above league average. That's all really solid, so you can definitely see why he would be worth $87.5 million. But at the same time, he's not just getting paid for his bat. Yes, that's a big part of it, but he's also partially getting paid for his defense and what he provides behind the plate. I mean, that's the whole point of signing a catcher, so he can catch. And when you're dishing out one of the bigger contracts for a player at that position, he better be hitting too. Skip ahead about a month into the season, and things are a little weird right now in St. Louis. To start off, the Cardinals as a team have been awful, to say the very least. Coming off a 93-win season and first place finish in the National League Central in 2022, you would not expect this team to be 12 games under the 500 mark and in dead last place in their division, yet here we are. Paul Goldschmidt is hitting very well, actually. He's doing great, but other than him, the offense has been scuffling. Nolan Arenado has not been himself at the plate. Nolan Gorman has been good. Contreras could be better, but he's hitting pretty decently. Same with Tommy Edman, but as far as the pitching goes, though, yikes, it's been bad. Other than Jordan Montgomery, every pitcher in the Cardinals starting rotation has an ERA over 5. Jack Flaherty, the 27-year-old right-hander who's supposed to be really good, actually has the worst ERA of them all. Adam Wainwright did not make his first start of the year because of injuries until just recently. The bullpen has been much better than the rotation, but that of course doesn't say much. It just hasn't been a good time for these Cardinals up until this point at all. Manager Oliver Marmol went very public with calling out his own player after he felt he could have hustled more rounding third on a play. Again, it's just been weird for the Cardinals so far, and things just got a little weirder. It seems as if about a month into the season, the Cardinals don't love Willson Contreras behind the plate. So much so that they are moving him away from that position for the time being. The initial report coming from the Cardinals was that to improve both inefficiency behind the plate and an underperforming starting pitching staff, Willson Contreras will be removed from his starting catching role and place some outfield along with being slotted at DH. The Cardinals then backtracked on their plan for him to play the outfield, with President of Baseball Operations John Mozeliak saying that after talking with Contreras, he decided it's best he will be in the DH role for now, adding on that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for him to return to catching, and that's what they're going to work toward. Manager Oliver Marmol then spoke a little bit on the matter, saying that he has no idea how long this process of getting Contreras back to catching will take, but that there is a plan to get him to where he's comfortable and their pitchers are comfortable in executing. Okay, so basically what it seems from what I'm reading and seeing myself here from the outside looking in is that the Cardinals are basically blaming Willson Contreras for the awful pitching that has transpired on the team this year. It's almost like they're pointing fingers at him and saying that they need to figure out a way for him to work better with the pitching staff before he gets back behind the dish. How do the pitchers themselves feel about this? Well, at least according to Jack Flaherty and Adam Wainwright, it's not Contreras' fault, but rather themselves, with Flaherty saying that they love the guy, and Wainwright adding on that he believes Contreras and the pitching staff will settle in and be great. This move by the Cardinals to move Contreras away from the catcher's position, the position he's been in his entire career, really sent a ton of shock throughout the league, and understandably so. To so many people, it doesn't make much sense, and I totally understand why. When the Cardinals signed Willson Contreras to be their catcher for the next half decade, the plan was for Willson Contreras to be their catcher for the next half decade. But now, just about 5 weeks into the season and into Contreras' tenure with the Cards, you're going to defeat a lot of the purpose of why you signed him to begin with? Because now this is what it looks like. Willson Contreras is getting paid $17.5 million to be an above average hitting designated hitter? That doesn't seem right or smart. I would expect Contreras to eventually get back to catching, I really do. It's hard to see the Cardinals making this a permanent thing when you're paying him so much money. Willson Contreras has always been a good hitter, but his hitting was never good enough to equate to $87.5 million. Now put that above average hitting with being a catcher? Okay, now we're talking about a player worth that much money. But again, to move him away from that position and just limit him to hitting and that's it, really just defeats the purpose of paying him that much money. The vast majority of designated hitters are not like David Ortiz, Edgar Martinez, Nelson Cruz, guys like that. They just aren't. Willson Contreras is most definitely not on those guys' level as far as his hitting is. But when you take his hitting and make him a catcher, he's very valuable to a team. At the end of the day, the Cardinals' pitching staff has been so bad to the point where you can't blame Contreras. It's been abysmal out there on the mound for most of these guys. And it gets to a point where the finger pointing has to fall on the guys getting barreled up out there, not the guy catching. So, as of right now, moving Willson Contreras away from half the reason you gave him so much money to begin with looks like you're just wasting money. Because as just strictly a designated hitter, he's not worth $17.5 million a year. He needs to do what he did for the first 7 years of his big league career, which is play catcher. Who knows, maybe this will spark Contreras to become the best hitting catcher in the game. In his first game back in the north side of Chicago since signing with the Cardinals, Contreras got some boos and he embraced them, going 2 for 4 and driving in a couple of runs, and when he got on base, invited more boos to be thrown his way by the Cubs fans. So hey, maybe the Cardinals are playing chess right now while we're all playing checkers, and this decision will work wonders in the long run, but as of right now, it just doesn't seem very smart. You dished out $87.5 million for Willson Contreras to be a solid hitting catcher, not a solid hitting designated hitter. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.